Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Wiebe from Sportsnet. Together, we are Kenny and Renny, and this is the Kenny and Renny post-game show after I would classify it as one of the Jets' worst games of the year so far this year. I don't know if I'd put it at the top. I know that game against the Dallas Stars was a little bit of a stinker. There were some, good things about this game. We'll get into it, but I thought the third and fourth lines played to the identity. I think their head coach agreed. Not quite sure what happened in this one. I will say the Winnipeg Jets, statistically, and it's funny because coaches will come rolling into town and they'll talk to you about it and talk about how good the Jets have been at defending off the rush, right? And they've been a good at a lot of things. It's one of the reasons they're one of the best defensive teams in the league, but tonight did not look like a team that was defending well against the rush. I have to say, they made the first line of the Columbus Blue Jackets look like they were absolute wizards out there. And you know what? Maybe we should approach it that way. Johnny Gaudreau getting, a little bit of time with Patrik Laine. I've been interested to see, as a watcher of hockey, what Johnny Gaudreau could potentially do to Patrik Laine's career. If tonight was a little bit of a sample size, well, it's a pretty good sample size. It's funny. I was talking with Ken before the game. I don't know if you were watching or some of you may have been watching out there, but I went on Tim and Friends, and then I was on Hockey Central before that, and I kept getting asked the question about Patrik Laine coming back into town and, what the kind of vibe was. And I have to be honest, last time Patrik Laine came back here, I did about a 6 or 7 minute one-on-one interview with him. And, if you don't know this about Patrik Laine, great guy, calls you by name, walks out, shakes your hand. Earlier on today, he was giving Wiebe a little bit of a ribbing because, he's got a shaved head now. And he said, Wiebe looked so good with it. He thought he'd go with the same thing. Last year, you could feel the nervous energy coming off him. Patrik Laine came in here against the Winnipeg Jets last year, and he wanted it. He wanted it so bad. And he had said it kind of sent him into a little bit of a tailspin. He kind of got off focusing on things that hockey players are supposed to help them succeed. And he just wanted to get the Winnipeg Jets so bad. It didn't work out. It reminded me, of all these situations where players try to play things down. It reminded me, I had talked to a player in the Buffalo Sabres dressing room a number of years back, right at the first time that Evander Kane played the Winnipeg Jets afterwards. And we went out, and if you remember, the Buffalo Sabres won that game, and we talked to Evander Kane afterwards, and he said, oh yeah, no big deal, I'm just going to play this down, it meant nothing. His teammate said to me, that is absolute BS. He wanted it so bad. He stood up in the room and he's like, I want to get these guys so bad. You got the sense last year that Patrik Laine felt that way. He wanted to come in. He wanted to wow the crowd. He wanted to show people what they were missing. Didn't pull it off last year. Boy, oh boy, I think he pulled it off tonight. That looked to me like Patrik Laine heading out, trying to get revenge. And on this night, he got it. Of course, that's going to bring in the whole idea of who won the trade and all that kind of stuff. I've got all the time in the world to talk about that stuff, but I want to talk about it with my main man when he comes in here. Kenny Wiebe, always looking like $1 million. Time to bring him into the show, the man with the best music in the business. Here comes Kenny. Kenny, looking good as usual. I noticed we've got a similar print on the jacket, and that has something to do with our main man, Frank, trying to dress us like $1 million, which he does all the time. I got to say this, Ken. I got a text from the boys at Vittorio Rossi, and I've got four suits waiting for me to go roll and pick up a whole bunch of ties. I will be drowning in good-looking clothes right away here. Not that I'm not already, but if you want to be the same, head on down to Vittorio Rossi, Sierra boys, Frank and the boys. They will do you up right.
Wrong.
Oh, sorry. Wrong. There we go. Go down Vittorio Rossi, the boys on Corden Avenue. Go check them out. They will take care of you as they did with our boy Craig Zamsdow. And of course, if you're heading down there, make sure you tell them Kenny and Renny sent you. Ken, let's just get right into it. What'd you think of that game?
I agree with you. I mean, Patrick did kind of get a little bit too overly amped up for the game last year. I think he definitely took the opposite approach today, dismissing, saying he hadn't been paying attention to the Jets this season. It's possible that it's true, but I'm guessing someone in his room may have let him know where the Jets were in the standings, and if not a teammate, maybe his coach or whatever else. But yeah, the Jets, laid a bit of an egg here. It's interesting, Sean. Laine obviously was ready for the game today. There's no doubt about that. He was opportunistic. He showed off that wicked shot, that top line, as you mentioned. You touched on it. Had an awesome evening. Boone Jenner, a lot of effort out there for him. Johnny Gaudreau, 3 apples. He did a fantastic job, and obviously he knows David Riddick very well, and Johnny looked like one of the best players in the NHL tonight, buzzing around all night long, and much like Rick Bowness said, he sort of disappears and then reappears with the puck in at full speed, and boy, oh boy, that that pass by Jenner to Laine for the second was dynamite. Laine almost had the hat trick, one off the post from distance, and then Blake Wheeler with the kick save, but in terms of the Jets, not a lot of solid performances, as you mentioned. I mean, DJ underscore with the good burn. Good on him.
That's one of those. That DJ underscore, I think, is your
says that every game.
Is your Ryan Friesen, right? He's got that 1 point, and he's going to hammer it home from now until the end of time.
Congratulations! Yes,
there you go.
Hey, we're not right all the time, and we're glad you kept the receipts, DJ underscore. I would say Jonas Korpisalo did make some saves, but Jets did not make life nearly difficult enough. It's interesting, too. I mean, Rick Bowness was very adamant that his team will respond. And guess what? I mean, the Jets responded the last time they were defeated handily, but that is twice in an 8-day span, or 8-day span, yeah. So nine. Sorry,
yeah.
Twice in a 9-day span, they did respond with 3 consecutive victories. I'm kind of with you, Sean. Not kind of. I'm with you fully. I think there was a bit of an emotional letdown after Wednesday's game against the Avalanche. Having said that, those are the games you can't afford to. Pierre-Luc Dubois said no, you're not going to go 82-0, but these are the games that sort of put a team back at attention. I love the quote from Rick Bowness saying, basically to the effect they had way too many passengers. That wasn't the direct quote. I'm going to get that right now just so that I don't misquote Mr. Bowness here. We had a lot of bad performances from a lot of players in that room. We did. The team game kind of went out of the window at times defensively, so we tried to straighten that out a little bit. We gave them those goals on terrible coverage that we normally cover very well. And yeah, I mean, he was right. In the second it was one of those games that could have turned for the Jets. Post here from Morgan Barron, and there was one play in particular that, Sam Gagner had yes, it was still a very, it was a glorious chance from the slot, but he didn't see Kyle Connor had a wide open backdoor one-timer available to him. And again, Sam Gagner is a very smart hockey player. He had been a healthy scratch for 2 games. It's natural that he looked for the shot there. To me, that was one of those plays that it gets way easier to see from up in the press box. But you could tell as soon as the save was made and Sam kind of looked to his peripheral to his right and saw Kyle Connor, cocked and loaded for the 1-tee, and he was like, oh boy, I probably should have dished that over to the side. But Jets just weren't good enough, Sean. I mean, that's we were praising them after the other night, and rightfully so.
Yep.
Mark Scheifele's line didn't get a whole lot going tonight. I thought Pierre-Luc Dubois' line actually was rolling pretty well, to be quite frank. I mean, there were some rough goes defensively. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, one off Dubois' skate. He was able to get the power play goal late in garbage time to break up the shutout bid for his 11th. But overall, I didn't find the Jets' effort to be very good. And we'll dig in a little bit deeper when it comes to the power play. But power play let them down, quite frankly. I mean, Rick Bowness said it. Pierre-Luc Dubois said they needed to be better. Overall, not a good effort. There's really no other way to chalk that one up. I mean, I wouldn't say they came home and got fat, Ian. I mean, they beat the Colorado Avalanche the other day, so I wouldn't say that either. But again, it's a season filled with opportunities to respond. The Jets responded the last time, but they are going to be challenged to do so again. I mean, they've got the Anaheim Ducks, then they have the Florida Panthers. Jets were 9-3 in the month of November. That's a good record. I mean, they have a busy schedule ahead of them, and we'll see how they respond. 16 games in 30 days. We're going to learn, Sean, we learned a lot about the Jets in the first 21 games, and we're going to learn an awful lot about the Winnipeg Jets over the next 16 games this month. That's, either they're going to get into a rhythm or we're going to see how they respond. I mean, hey, that's the beauty of hockey. There's another game on Sunday. There's no way to, make this one any prettier. It was an ugly effort on a lot of fronts. Jets weren't good enough, and it showed on the scoreboard, everywhere else. I mean, whatever. You can look at the win-o-meter and you can look at efforts. You can look at analytics. The Jets were not good enough against one of the worst teams in the NHL, and they ended up on the losing end 4-1.
Listen, I want to take care of a bunch of business here,
Sure.
all in one shot here. So I'm going to start with this. Phyllis made the call first. She says, Sean, let's do a headband right away. All right, let's call it. Let's make this a Sean's headband version of the Kenny and Renny show. All right, Ken, jumping from one to the next. What was your lamplighter on this evening?
Yeah, quite frankly, it's the first Laine goal. I mean, the second one was probably a hair prettier. I would say the pass from Johnny Gaudreau was elite, and the release by Laine was, one that we've seen on numerous occasions. So although I think the Laine's second had maybe a little bit of a prettier element with the backhand pass by Boone Jenner.
Yeah.
That's a backdoor tap for Laine. That's an automatic. To me, he showed it was classic Laine, Sean. He did not have a lot of room high to the glove side, but he put it right where Mama hides the cookies, if you will. Great pass by Johnny Gaudreau, and an excellent effort by Boone Jenner earlier in that shift to kind of keep the play alive. So to me, that Laine goal, great effort by Dubois, to stay, to the hard areas on the power play goal, but. We're not giving out garbage time goals for the Lamplighter. The goal by Laine, it does not end up being the game winner, but it is the one that got the Blue Jackets rolling. So for me, that Laine's first of the night of two and third of the season with the dish by Johnny Gaudreau is my Lamplighter.
I'm going to say this. That's it for me as well. I'll say it like this, though, because that shot of his, it's one of those ones where Laine gets a chance, and then just all of a sudden, I've always said this before, like when he shoots, it's like he's teleporting the puck into the net. Like it's there, and it defies the eye, right? It would be like seeing a UFO in the sky where it's just there, and then all of a sudden it just goes over to here as quick as you can. That's what his shots look like. I'll always go back to the first time I started covering the Jets and the first time I saw Alexander Ovechkin play. And when you saw him shoot that puck live, it's different. Like you can't capture on TV how absurd guys who shoot like this look. And Laine's had that element. And I just thought this, like, I like the idea of Winnipeg Jets fans, despite the fact it cost their team tonight, being reminded of what they had and the good times that they had with Patrick Laine and that shot going off. Fun to see that happen. So I thought that was a good one. So I agree with you. Lamplighter of the game, no doubt. And if you are interested in some Trans-Canada Brewing Lamplighter Amber Ale, well, you came to the right place. All you got to do is share your Lamplighter, your goal of the game. We call it the Lamplighter. you will be entered to win a frosty, delicious. People always ask me, is it really frosty? Yeah, you put it in the fridge. It's frosty. Let me tell you that. Frosty, delicious Lamplighter Amber Ale. And if you can't wait for Kenny and Renny to provide you with some, then head on down to Transcanada Brewing Company and give them a try at their tap room, 11290 Kenniston. They've got sours. They've got stouts. They've got they've got everything. The blueberry beer, like I said, is my favorite. More and more people keep telling me about the pizza, Ken. We've had it. It's great. But if you're heading down there to pick up a Lamplighter Ale because you won here, if you're just going to go check it out, tell them Kenny and Renny sent you. But do yourself a favor and try that pizza. And the next person in line who could potentially go get some pizza of their own because they've got a reason to head on down is Andrea Kahooch. I know that she was one of the first people in the chat room here. She is the latest winner of the Lamplighter 8-pack of Amber Ale. So congratulations, Andrea Kahooch. Moving on, Ken.
The Johnson Group. Tell her what she has to do. Tell her what she has to do.
Yeah, for sure. You see right below me, that's my handle on Twitter. Direct message me on Twitter at Sean at SN Sean Reynolds. I need your full name. I need your email address, and I will send you a voucher for the frosty, delicious Lamplighter Amber Ale. People have been loving it. I've been getting messages like crazy, Ken. I had 2 before the game today of previous winners saying they were sitting down in the game enjoying a Lamplighter Amber Ale. Great stuff. Happy that you won, Andrea Kahooch. Moving on, Johnson Group got you covered play of the game. What do you got, Ken?
Yeah, they didn't have much in terms of the style of play or whatever was happening behind them. So, Sean, for me, we've got you covered is Neil Pionk coming to the aid of Josh Morrissey after the Gustav Nyquist headshot from the blind side. Didn't like the play at all. I understand, yes, it was probably... Gustav Nyquist is not a dirty player, but if you are going to try to set a pick on someone, you cannot hit them in the head with your shoulder or your elbow. I mean, that was just absolutely... And again, I think it was accidental. Nyquist is not a dirty player, but that's a dirty play, Sean. There is no other way to put it.
Agreed.
And that is something, you saw it. We've heard it all year long. The Jets coming to the aid of a teammate. Neil Pionk was the guy today jumping in, and Josh Morrissey was hot. He went right after Gustav Nyquist himself. And to me, that's my we've got you covered play of the game.
I'm all over that. I couldn't agree more. I was actually, I was feeling a little bit bad for you. I thought I put you in a bad spot because sometimes that can be a little bit tricky. But I couldn't agree with you more. You absolutely nailed it with that. Our boys at the Johnson Group. Let me bring that comment off there if I can and show off this classy, gorgeous graphic that they provide us with and talk a little bit about our friends at the Johnson Group, the Kenny and Renny OGs. You won't find 2 businesses with the same challenges, but you will find 30,000 businesses with Chambers Plan employee benefits, proudly administered by our friends at Johnson Group. Chambers Plan is Canada's #1 plan for employee benefits because it evolves with the way you work and live. The plan is run as a not-for-profit designed specifically to support small businesses, and its unique pooling strategy keeps rates stable so you won't have any surprises at your next renewal. Chambers Plan now comes with professional consulting on key financial, legal, and HR issues, and Teladoc telemedicine services are included with every health option. See how Chambers Plan could benefit your business by visiting chamberplan.ca. And I got to say this, I want to kind of brag a little bit, Ken, about what we got going on here right now. You may notice that the background noise in the Kenny and Renny podcast, the Canada Life Center here, is quite muted today. It's because Ken and I went out and we got each other a Christmas present, and we opened it and got each other the exact same thing. We got matching microphones. Kenny and Renny, one has a K emblazoned in it, one has an R emblazoned in it. It should, anyways. I've got the tall tales going, but these are designed to pick up sound right around here. So if I start doing this, you can see you're not hearing me very well. You got to be right up here, which means, you know what? I know a lot of you love the helicopter. The helicopter is going to be a slight little drone in the background from now on. Kenny and Renny taking it to the penthouse with the audio lately, but we'll get into. Reamer wants to know. I don't know what it is. Hey,
here we go. Here comes the Zamboni. Now we are going to find out. Let's find out. Let's find out.
I think the Zamboni driver is in the corner listening to the show and thinking, oh, yeah? Well, let's see about that. Here he comes, ladies and gentlemen. You can check it out. But I can tell you already that we had a gentleman cleaning the place yelling beside me right here, and I barely heard it in the earphone, so I think it's working. Tell us what you think with the Zamboni in the background, everybody. Ken, I like this comment. I want to get into this right away because we want to honor the people who comment on our show and bring this stuff in. Bailey Weep, who apparently just won a toque on Illegal Curve. Congratulations, Bailey Weeb. But says, should have played Fialbi. And I think we had someone else in there who is saying the exact same thing. What do you think about the idea of Gagner going into the lineup? Because I know I've said this in the past. It's a way of showing, confidence in your entire team to move guys around and give everyone an opportunity. Rick Bowness said as much. You can get into what he said this morning about it. But I did take a look at it, and I did think that second line, I didn't feel like Gagner was fitting so well there tonight.
Well, I mean, also just a quick one here for Doug Thorowski. Kenny, come on. The top six the top six for the most part was invisible tonight. Well, I do agree. I already mentioned I didn't think the Scheifele line was very good at all. They had one early chance. Scheifele had a one-timer on the power play. Pierre-Luc Dubois had 4 shots on goal, 6 attempts. Kyle Connor had 6 shots on goal, 8 attempts. I'm not great at math, Sean, but 6 and 8 is 14 shots on goal between 2 players. So it's hard to be invisible and have that many scoring chances. So I disagree, Doug, with your assessment. I already said I didn't think the Scheifele line played very well. Dubois' line had some chances. Did they play very well? Not by any stretch of the imagination. I was not suggesting that. They were noticeable offensively. Korpisalo made some good saves. And again, too, so when Sam Gagner went up on that line, Sean, 2 shots on goal, 3 attempts for him. So, I mean, there were some opportunities in the offensive zone. One thing I will say quickly, I understand where your people are coming from when it comes to Axel Jonsson-Fjällby. Here's the thing. When a team is playing the 30th ranked team in the NHL, and the Blue Jackets, with all due respect, are not one of the fastest teams, I thought it was a good opportunity to put Sam Gagner back in the game. As Rick Bowness mentioned, he had not played his way out of the lineup. Having said that, do I think the Jets missed the speed and tenacity of an Axel Jonsson-Fjällby? I think at times you could easily make that argument. But I don't think Jonsson-Fjällby was going to be spending much time on that Dubois line today anyway. Morgan Barron started there again, had a chance or two, but I mean, that line was on for the first 2 goals against right away. One of them was off Dubois' skate. But overall, they're still, so Sean, long story short, the Jets are still looking. The wheel of justice is spinning, and they haven't found the right guy to play on that line yet. Morgan Barron hasn't played a lot on his right side. Didn't look comfortable there. So Gagner has played on his right side a lot. There were some plays that worked. But again, he does not have the speed. We know that. I mean, Sam Gagner is a veteran guy, still has a lot of skill. Is he a perfect fit or a perfect match for that line? Not yet. So we'll see what happens next. We've talked about this before, Sean. You and I believe, there could be a chance for Cole Perfetti to be tried there. But he also hasn't had a lot of time on his right wing outside of that time with them last year. But that was fewer than, 14 games of. So I would have been fine with the Jets. Again, Axel Jonsson-Fjällby hasn't been in the league that long, Sean. So if you are going to take someone out of the lineup, he is one of the candidates. I mean, same goes for Saku Maenalainen. He's a little bit older in terms of his experience level, but neither one of those guys has a lot of NHL experience. If you're going to keep Sam Gagner in a rotation and not have him strictly as the 13th forward, those are the guys that are going to be coming out of the lineup. I mean, Jansen Harkins brings the speed element, but today he took a bad penalty. That's a bad cross-checking penalty. Again, I don't blame him. There's frustration, of course, but when you're essentially, Sean, you're on trial, you can't be taking penalties like that, even if the game is out of reach. That's an offensive zone minor that you can't take in that situation. Again, I'm not knocking Jansen Harkins' game, but at the same time, when you're one of those players on the periphery, you have to be on all the time. That doesn't mean you can't make mistakes. It means you must limit the mistakes that are preventable. So do I think Axel Jonsson-Fjällby will be playing Sunday, Sean? Yes, I do. Do I know who's coming out of the lineup? No, I don't. It will probably be one of the guys I just mentioned. Mikey Asamont, he had a couple good they had some good shifts. But again, this is my point on, if you can't play Sam Gagner against the Columbus Blue Jackets or the Anaheim Ducks, then you're not going to be playing him. So Sam Gagner had a very good start to the season. He was, Rick said himself, he's probably playing more than they anticipated. But again, I don't see this as a panic move, putting Sam Gagner in the lineup. And putting Sam Gagner in the lineup didn't cause the Jets to suddenly play badly by any stretch of the imagination. So for me, I have no problem with it. I don't subscribe to the, don't change a winning lineup. Teams are always trying to improve. There are going to be people going in and out of the lineup because of injury. I mean, does it have to happen all the time? Of course not. But Sean, why don't you get into Rick's answer? You're the one who asked him the question. For this part of the year, the Jets have done a good job of keeping their scratches ready to go, and often when they go out or back into the lineup, they found a way to contribute. Today, you didn't have as much of that happening. But again, I think that Sam Gagner, even if Sam Gagner was playing poorly, he wouldn't have got bumped up onto that second or onto that line, and he wouldn't have stayed there. So, to me, I have no problem with Sam Gagner's game. Is he the right fit for that line? I'm not sure. I think the Jets are probably still going to continue to look for a different option until they get Nikolai Ehlers or Mason Appleton back. But Sam deserves to be in that rotation. I mean, Axel Jonsson-Fjällby brings a lot to the table. A lot of tenacity, a lot of forecheck, but he doesn't have a lot of finish either. So right now, none of the guys who have been used on that line have had a lot of finish. So it's something that they're going to continue to work on. But you dig in a little deeper, Sean, because you asked Rick this morning, and I thought he gave a pretty thoughtful answer about how he's kept those guys ready.
Okay, so first off, I'm fighting my tendency that I've done in the past to pull the pin on the grenade and just toss it into the conversation here. I'm going to take it and I'm going to set it on the table beside me, and I'm going to pull the pin a little bit later. You're going to love it. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. We're going to,
I'm going to love it, or the
chat
room's going to love it.
You're going to love it. Well, the chat room will love it too. Everyone's going to love it, I promise. I'll answer this. Then you're going to hit up our main man, Lou. And then we'll do home field, and then I'll pull out the hand grenade.
Perfect.
But I like the way that and if you could pop this comment or keep running the comments here, Ken.
Okay.
I like the way that Rick Bowness has handled this year because I think it's given confidence all around. Now, you're not going to keep spinning the wheel and hit every single time, right? They didn't hit tonight with Sam Gagner. And it's interesting because it kind of didn't work out the way that Rick Bowness said, but the way I the way I suggested the question to Rick Bowness was that, pulling someone out of a lineup can have negative connotations, right? Axel Jonsson-Fjällby has kind of done everything they've asked him to do, and now he's out of the lineup. And I think it has more to do with anything, Ken, that it's his turn, right? I don't think it. Now, these guys aren't up the upper level that they can be game changers, but they've been very serviceable and they've known their role and they've performed to their role. But there's enough of those guys, you mentioned it, the Gagners, the Harkins, the Sacramento Linens, all of those different kind of players. There's enough of them that Rick Bowness feels he can just kind of spin the Price is Right wheel, and land on a guy and put him in. And so tonight, that landed on Gagner. I didn't necessarily think it worked with Gagner. The other night, it was Morgan Barron. I didn't think it worked with Morgan Barron either. And yet tonight, I thought Morgan Barron was really, really good tonight, right? I just don't think that he fit on that line. What you want to see is a guy gets an opportunity, doesn't cash in on that opportunity. Well, he doesn't quit, right? There's not a sag after that happens. So I think the guys keep, I think the guys keep bouncing back really well, and what I'm looking for is Axel Jonsson-Fjällby to come back into the lineup, because Rick Bowness said what he says with these guys so that it doesn't become a negative thing. It's a good thing for a coach, right? Because now there's internal competition. Now each of these guys is fighting to stay in the lineup. Now each of these guys is fighting to audition for that next spot, and I think that's what we've been seeing for the most part. But if you're that player, there can be negative connotations with being taken out. And his take on that is he goes to those players, says, hey, listen, I'm taking you out of the lineup. This is why I'm taking you out of the lineup. He didn't share the reasons with us, but he shares it with the players. You're going to go out and you're going to come the next day, because practice now becomes your game, because in order for you to get back into the game, you need to make sure you're game ready, and you do that by busting your butt in practice, and then you get an opportunity again. So he's got this kind of game of musical chairs where, yeah, you get booted out tonight, but the game doesn't keep going till there's one guy left. The game just keeps going. So you're not spending a lot of time sitting out, and you're getting these bounce back performances like I thought we saw from Morgan Barron tonight. I didn't think we got the bounce back performance that you would have wanted from Sam Gagner on this night. And that's something I'll be interested to see how they address it going forward. But you're also not going to land on it every night. And it actually is leading me to the grenade that I have sitting over here that just wants to go off, because I'm going to announce the grenade, what I want to talk about after you give a shout out to our main man, Lou. But I want to get back to something I'm very upset with you about, Ken. You made me doubt myself. That almost never happens. You made me doubt myself because we had the opposing opinions. I thought the Jets should stick with what they have right now and keep loading up all that money and space for the trade deadline and go big, big game fishing kind of thing. And you wanted it to happen now. And I started coming around to your way of thinking, and I should have known better. I should have stuck with my gut and not listened to Ken. We're going to talk about it, but I want you to give a shout out to your main man, Lou Ferlin, first. And then you get the floor.
Perfect. Thanks for tossing that grenade in. If you're looking for anything in the realty or real estate market, if you're buying, if you're selling, if you're just curious where things are at, our main man, Lou Ferlin, you can reach him at 204-791-9971 or at the Royal LePage office at 204-989-5000. You can also reach him by email at lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou is a great supporter of the local sporting community and all-around great human being, and he's absolutely dynamite at his job. So we're happy to have Lou on as one of our sponsors. And Sean, even better news, we've got the Lou Ferlin will have a crisper photo for the next edition.
Excellent.
Of the show. But yes, if you and again, you can reach all those listings you can check out at www.louferlin.ca.
Check out our main man, Lou. And of course, one of the things that we've got in the works is Homefield is working on some in-show stuff with us that we're working on it. We're getting excited to unveil it. They're trying to make the show pop. I think it pops pretty good. Headbands make things pop, right? Good looking suits from Vittorio Rossi make things pop. But Homefield's going to take it a step further because they dig deeper, Ken. And just like they dig deeper, our friend Kenny's water bottle. I got to say this, Kenny's water bottle. I rarely agree with our main man, Kenny's water bottle. But on this night, I think this is a good comment. He says, it seems like Bones has the team playing a high-tempo, aggressive style that is sometimes difficult to replicate every game. When they don't have it, this is what it looks like. I got all the time in the world for this being a tough brand of hockey for the Winnipeg Jets to play in, night in and night out. And when you don't have it, you don't have it. I got all the time in the world for that. That's a great comment. Kenny's water bottle, who usually just kind of barely skims the surface with his commentary, especially when he's taking on my takes and always siding with you. But on this night, Kenny's water bottle dug deeper, just like Homefield does. Excellent stuff. Ken,
and you can reach them at www.myhomefield.ca for your marketing needs and more.
All right, let's get to it. You remember the movie Dodgeball? And there's a point where the antagonist, I forget what he says, you made me bleed my own blood. Well, that's what I feel like right now. You made me doubt my take, and I shouldn't have, Ken. I'm kicking myself because I'm looking at what the Jets have been doing, and we're talking about this audition system. And while tonight it didn't exactly work out, I don't blame the loss on that for happening tonight. I think the Winnipeg Jets are getting by, and the guys who are helping them get by are doing a great job of it. Keep them auditioning, keep making that space and that money space, and go for the big dogs at the trade deadline. I can't believe I felt it. I was starting to go to your side, Ken. I can't believe it. That's the dark side. Tell me why the dark side is still right.
Well, you just said it yourself. You answered your own question.
No,
they haven't found a fit on that line, and they still need one. How can it be any different? You are arguing for me.
Paging the Kenny and Renny divorce lawyer. Paging the Kenny and Renny divorce lawyer. No, keep going.
The Jets have not found the solution to the problem in the top 6. So what I said is still 100% accurate. Anyways.
Well, okay, so hold on a second. The 2 players that they're trying to find a fit on that line
it's
are
not
both...
2. They've used 3, and none of them are working so far.
No, I mean Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kyle Connor. These are, this is the funny thing about it. I was chatting with people in Toronto about this today. I think there's 5 Jets players right now that are very close to being point-a-game players. Right. I mean, that's 1/4 of your lineup are near point-per-game players, and 2 of those players, Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kyle Connor, are on that line we were talking about. It's not like these players aren't producing. And so yes, those players aren't walking in and no one is grabbing the brass ring. But at this moment, the Jets are still getting results, and they're where they want to be for the most part in the standings, and they're one of the top teams in the NHL without having to do this. I think the Jets are playing a very different game. The Jets, and Rick Bowness would be so mad at me for talking like this, and if he ever heard the Winnipeg Jets players listening to me saying this, he'd walk into the room and say, don't ever listen to that guy, because Rick Bowness's point about a game like tonight is we're trying to make the playoffs. You can't give away a night like tonight. You got to play every single night. But for the most part, I feel like the Winnipeg Jets are a playoff team playing for positioning in a very tough division that is going to be tough regardless of where they finish up. And so what they need to do is they need big impact. I don't think they need big impact now. Whether they finish first, it's going to be a tough draw, second or third, or in the wild card. It's going to be a tough draw. That's just the nature of the Central Division. Get through and get the biggest fish you can. That's what I'm all about.
Okay, but so I'm okay with the theory, Sean, but what if you miss on the big fish? Now you've waited all that time and you did nothing. Now you're looking at plan B and C and D. I say get ahead of the market, identify the player you want, and get them in the lineup. If you have more time to integrate that person into the lineup, it will be better for the long term. We've seen this before, Sean. It is a roll of the dice if a team adds a guy at the deadline. Paul Stastny fit perfectly. Kevin Hayes, it didn't work out the way they planned. That didn't mean it was a bad trade. Kevin Hayes ended up being a great fit for the Philadelphia Flyers, but he wasn't that player when he was with the Winnipeg Jets. So the longer you have to integrate a high-end player, the better off the team will be. So to me, especially if you know Ehlers is gone for at least 5 more weeks, maybe longer, you still have an opportunity to upgrade the team that helps you now. And again, for the people that are talking, with all due respect to the players that are in the mix, they are playing incredibly hard. Mike Yassamon has done a fabulous job of getting himself on the radar to the point where he wasn't the first guy pulled out of the lineup when Sam Gagner came in. But if the Jets are serious about winning the Stanley Cup, they need to upgrade the forward group in the near future. It does not have to be today, but I think they need to upgrade that top 6. I mean, again,
okay.
I expect Ehlers to make a massive impact when he returns, but he has to be healthy. And right now he's not healthy. Sean, we were just talking about this off air. How different does Columbus look with Patrick Laine on their top line? We're not talking about Boone Jenner not being a number 1 centerman tonight. Boone Jenner played great today. Is he a perfect fit for the number 1 center job? Of course not. But when you have an elite playmaker in Johnny Gaudreau and an elite scorer and shooter in Patrick Laine, all of a sudden that line looks dynamic on a regular basis. I know it's only 1 game, but that's the impact a top 6 guy can have on a team that is near the bottom of the standings. Imagine the impact that it could be on a team that is near the top of the standings.
All right. I'm going to tell you why your theory doesn't hold
no
water.
Problem.
And I could understand maybe you don't see this because I'm from Pinawa and Lac Du Bonnet. I grew up in the gorgeous waters of the White Shell. This is fishing country, Ken. Okay. So I know a little bit about fishing. And I know that there's certain times a year where the big fish just aren't out there, Ken. And that's this time of year right now. The biggest fish come in fishing season, right? Like if you want to go catch a really big fish up at Hecla Island, you go there around May 21st and you take a boat and you go out into the little launch area they have there and you head out just across from where they've got the I want to say Lamplighter, but the light tower or whatever you call it. And you go and you park a boat there and you pull in big walleye after big walleye after big walleye. There are certain seasons where the big fish come out. Hockey's the same, Ken. The big fish that you want to be going after, I don't know how many of them are available right now. And if you're going to go after them right now, you're not talking about trade deadline pickup kind of prices. You're talking about let's make a deal in the middle of the season kind of prices. And that's the problem with going and getting that right now. At some point, a team like Chicago is not going to need Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews anymore. Those are the kind of impact players that you are looking for, that teams at that time say, okay, we don't need these guys anymore. Let them move along. That's what the Jets need to be going for. So I know what you're saying, and I will be the first one to admit the Winnipeg Jets don't have or have not found a player within their lineup to give that second line the punch that you've got, like the first line and the second line that are on a game-to-game basis competing with each other. And I agree, and I think that's a problem. But it's not a problem that has been biting them. They've still been getting results despite that. And I say lean on the results that you're getting. Wait until fishing season opens up and then go hammer the big fish. I'll say it again. I can't believe I strayed from this. I know that the chat room is trying to sway me away from this, but we know that the chat room could be wrong, Ken. We know it happens quite often. We know that Kenny's water bottle sides with you, and that is a dangerous proposition. So I'm just telling you right now, think about the fishing season. If you're from the Lac du Bonnet area or if you're up from Gimli, you know what I'm talking about. Just drop it in the chat room if you agree.
Okay, so what happens if they don't get the biggest fish? And what happens if the biggest fish has a no trade clause to Winnipeg and he doesn't agree to waive like Paul Stastny did?
Well, what would getting them right now accomplish?
Well, no, that's what you're trying to find out, guys who don't have those limitations.
You can do your pre-scouting. I'm just saying you don't need to go do it right now.
Wait
for a guy to come available.
Okay, and this is what I'm telling you. The quarter point has been hit. There are going to be teams that are clearly more in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes than they are in the winning business or trying to make the playoffs.
This is a good point you're making, Ken. This is a good point. Keep going.
So those
You're starting to make me doubt myself again.
Those teams will be looking to shed payroll. So there will be players that are available earlier on. Are the prices too high right now? Probably. Yes. And I'm not saying overpay right now, but I'm sure the Jets are looking for preemptive strikes. I just think it's too risky to go later on. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, the Jets are playing well. They have got contributions from players who people were not expecting. And this is what I always like to remind people. A lot of people in the chat didn't know who Axel Jonsson-Fjällby was, and I'm not knocking the people in the chat room. I will be the first to admit when I was standing in the hallway in Banff and Elliot Friedman tweeted that the Jets claimed Jonsson-Fjällby, I'm looking at Hockey DB. I'm unaware of Axel Jonsson-Fjällby in September or early October in Banff. I've learned a lot about him. But people say, someone said Axel Jonsson-Fjällby is a driver. He drives his feet. He is not a play driver. He has a goal and an assist in 18 games this year for the Jets. He is an incredibly hard worker. He is a fast skater. He's a good penalty killer. He's a great forward checker. The definition of driver is not what our person in the chat room is suggesting. I think that Axel Jonsson-Fjällby is playing better than most people anticipated, probably including Axel Jonsson-Fjällby. But that's because he's been given an opportunity by a coaching staff that believes in him. So full marks to Axel Jonsson-Fjällby for doing that. But you got to keep that up. Like, these are guys that are on the periphery of the roster. Your audition is every single day right now. So they need to continue that. And now it's a great opportunity for him to come out of the press box and show Rick Bowness what the Jets may have been missing on this evening. So, again, I got to put a list together. I don't have a list together yet. What I do know is the teams will be looking to shed payroll earlier than the trade deadline.
Ken, I got to say, sometimes couples fight, and sometimes couples fight
This is not a fight.
Sometimes couples fight because one couple or one person in the couple is like trying to pick a fight. I was trying to pick a fight there, and you were so calm and so reasoned. I'm not saying I'm coming around to your way of thinking, but you do make some good points there. Let's fight about this another time. I like this fight. It's a good one. But we should move on and talk about, before we do move on, I want to give a shout out to our friends at Cambrian Credit Union who have been with us since last season. If you haven't been there, they've got a new website. They launched it earlier this month. They were excited about it, gave Jets tickets away on our show, gave Moose tickets away on the show. New website, new online banking experience for those members like Ken and myself who bank with them and get to go check this out. It's so easy to use. It's great stuff. And you want to be members with Cambrian Credit Union like us. And one of the reasons why is their unfee accounts, which allow you to bank for free. You can save $222 per year. Simply set up a recurring direct deposit every month to your Cambrian checking or savings account, and you qualify. No minimum balance required. Ken, you asked a really good question of Pierre-Luc Dubois about he went on and said something I thought was really interesting about the power play. So much has gone right for the Jets this year, including these players auditioning for that role in the top six, which means they don't need to go get a big fish right now. They can wait for that later. But Pierre-Luc Dubois
just because you say it more often doesn't mean you're right.
I'm trying,
buddy.
I'm trying.
You are trying. I appreciate the effort.
Pierre-Luc Dubois had talked about, of all the things that have really been working for the team this year, he started talking about the need to get more consistent on the power play. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, the power play could have been a difference maker tonight, and we didn't do a good job. And then Jeff Hamilton followed up with what wasn't working. If I had the answer, we probably wouldn't be here right now answering that question. I'm sure there's some video at the meeting tomorrow. Rick Bowness went out of his way to say yes. For those watching who noticed that the Jets' top unit was taken off after 35 or 40 seconds, the second unit went on, and then the fourth line went on. They didn't even bother spinning through the second part of the spin cycle. So, it's so interesting, right? I mean, Jets finished 1 for 5. I mean, they had a power play goal the other night. They had 2 the night before. But they just haven't. It just hasn't looked as crisp. I mean, we saw, even on a night, Sean, where the Colorado Avalanche were shut out, their power play just rips the puck around, and it just hasn't, they move the puck differently. So the Jets are trying a few different things. They're, looking at it. I'm curious for your, do you think the Jets could try Cole Perfetti on the top unit? I mean, we heard all about how his confidence is growing. If they're looking to change personnel a little bit, would that be one of the things that you would consider if you're Brad Lauer?
I would. I mean, I think it's interesting because what I'm seeing, Ken, I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, but there was that little bit of a spark that was lit between Scheifele and Wheeler over the last couple of games.
Yeah.
And it looks like what they've done is they've kind of gone back to the old power play. And that's what I saw here tonight. It's a power play that runs through Blake Wheeler, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, in the last game, you saw him go and you saw him score that goal, right? Steps in, gives the space. By the way, I've got the vacuum going on right beside. Or sorry, it's a leaf blower. That's why it's so loud. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm not hearing it in my ears. But good job on the mics. Merry Christmas to you, Ken, for getting that for me. So I like that because we saw that goal that Wheeler scored, which I think we all wanted to see more of when that power play was running for the last number of years, him taking that shot more often. He just always seemed to be trying to force the pass, and that seemed to be one of the things that kind of soured or went stale on that power play. And so when you saw that last night, it's like, okay, is Rick Bowness and this new coaching staff going to get in here and find the success that old power play used to have? It used to be one of the most dangerous power plays in the league. Are they going to go find something that, maybe the old coaching staff was missing and put it back together? And what I saw from their power play tonight was what we started seeing from that power play in the more recent years of it getting stale. So I don't know. I liked elements of what their power play was before when they had Blake Wheeler on that secondary power play. What I saw tonight from how they're running it is that first power play line just hogs a lot of the minutes and then doesn't get off the ice. And that was something we've talked about on this show and that I was kind of sick of seeing happening. And so it's interesting because if you extend that to both Wheeler and Scheifele tonight, I thought their game looked a little bit like the game that we'd come to expect from them in the last couple of years. That was an uninspiring game. And I wonder about the balance of being a new coaching staff who walks in and identifies issues with a team and tries to change them and tries to change the way teams play, but wanting to try different things like putting Wheeler and Scheifele back together while still applying the new formula that you want, but without the worry. I mean, I think one of the things you have to worry with that is them falling back into the old routines that have brought them, down a little bit in the last couple of years. And so as good as Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele looked in the last game with Cole Perfetti, I thought tonight looked a lot like what we've come to expect from them for the last couple of years. And one thing we know about this Jets team in years past is they really rode the highs and the lows. And that's not something that I don't think that's a Pandora's box that Rick Bowness wants to get into, right? And you could hear in his comments tonight, he said that when I asked him about, you touched on it. We asked him about, like, is this game them coming off the high of that victory over the Colorado Avalanche and having a low? And he didn't say no. He'd said it shouldn't be, right? It shouldn't be that, because you need to be fighting for the playoffs every single night. I think the Jets fell.
Not sure if it's just me that lost Sean or not, but hopefully we can get him back here.
Okay, there you go. Is that me or is that you?
I think my screen was sound and you went frozen. So
that's
sorry.
me.
That last 2 minutes, I bet, was incredible.
Yeah. Has it been that long? I've been gone that long?
No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't that
there
long.
You
maybe
go.
20 seconds, maybe 30.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Sorry, what were you
did
saying?
You want to? Well,
I didn't hear what the end was.
I don't know when I cut out. I guess what I'd said was for Rick Bowness, I think, the Jets and the way that they were so up and down over the last couple seasons, so that we weren't able to kind of get the consistency out of them. I don't think that's a direction that Rick Bowness wants to go to. And so I wonder about him with this, going back to Wheeler and Scheifele. To me, this looked like last year's version or the year before's version of Wheeler and Scheifele, who can be absolute gods on the ice together at times and then look fairly uninspired tonight. The one thing I thought was really interesting, and I think it's another one of these things we talk about Rick Bowness. He's so good at helping you visualize things. One of the things that he allows you as a journalist or a fan to visualize the game is he says he wants all four of the lines to look like each other. And I asked him, did all four lines look like tonight? And he was like, absolutely not. And it was pretty obviously the second, maybe not as much the second, but definitely the first line that did not look like they were grinding the way Morgan Barron was when he was out there, and Lowry and Saku Manalainen. And it makes me wonder about how he has to handle that first line. Like, what is going to be the bounce back with Scheifele and Wheeler to go and have a game again where they look like hockey gods and follow it up with a game where they almost look borderline disinterested? I wonder how you handle that as a coach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that as being a long-term issue. I haven't seen a lot of those efforts. I mean, the Jets have not had very many poor showings this year out of the first 22 outings. Mark Scheifele has been quite consistent as a player, and I would say Blake Wheeler's been right up there in terms of his consistency as well. In terms of Jeep guy, 6'9", 6'9", 6'9", Brad Lambert sat out the last game. I don't know if he was back in the other day, but I think he is dealing with an injury of some kind. And Chaz Lucius, according to Dave Minuk, was in the week-to-week category. So we'll see what that means for his opportunity to maybe suit up for Team USA at the World Junior that is upcoming here. So in terms of Wheeler and Scheifele, I don't see that being an issue, Sean. If it is an issue, they won't be playing together. I mean, this is very simple. When you look at the fact that Kyle Connor and Pierre-Luc Dubois are still looking for a right winger, and if it doesn't work for a 10-game stretch, Blake Wheeler's going to be on that line. I mean, there is no debate. There is no long-range issue. So Blake Wheeler will just be moved off the line if there's any longer-term issues in terms of them giving up a whole lot defensively. I mean, I thought that the Dubois line generated a little bit, but I mean they were also on for 3 goals against. I mean, I'm not talking about plus minus here, but I mean those guys were on for 3 goals and even strength goals. That's a fact. I mean, they weren't in great position. They had issues on the rush goals. One bad bounce off the foot, of course, of Dubois. But I mean, I'm with you. I don't think that the Scheifele line was, they just weren't generating any sustained offensive pressure. I think before we get rolling here, what did you think of Rick's comments about the Jets' struggles on the forecheck and how that allowed the Blue Jackets to exit with speed and make life difficult for the Jets to get any sustained pressure and offensive zone time?
Okay, before we go down that road, I think we could do something that's a little bit more fun. And we could touch on that again if it creeps up into a future game. Why don't we just end with this? Because I found another, while my internet cut out, I found another grenade in my bag. Exactly.
Perfect,
I thought
great.
we'd throw this in because the chat room will have fun with this.
Friday night grenades. That should be a new segment for us.
At this stage, Ken, who won the Dubois Laine Roslovic trade?
You know better, Sean. There's no winner in year 2. There's no winner.
Let's do it.
I mean, there's no winner.
When can we classify a winner?
Well, we're gonna.
Can't we classify a winner up until this stage?
Well, I don't know. What would you be saying?
Well,
it's almost even.
Go.
I mean, the stats are almost even. One team is near the top of the standings. The other is in the lottery.
Right.
Neither team has had any playoff success whatsoever. So neither team has really won in terms of playoff success. The Jets have won 1 round with Pierre-Luc Dubois. I think Columbus has won 0.
Yep.
Laine and Dubois both had bad starts. Both dealt with injuries. Right now, Laine has a bit of, Jarmo Kekalainen has a bit of an edge when it comes to long-term security.
A bit. This is a good point,
Sean,
Rob
okay.
Mahoney. This is the point in my estimation. Rob
Not
Mahoney
yet.
makes
He
it.
hasn't signed
Jackets
yet.
won because Dubois didn't sign long term.
There's, let's see what happens next if the Jets have to trade Pierre-Luc Dubois, they lost the deal. I mean, this is not hard, unless they somehow turn that package into something great. Right now, I just said the Columbus Blue Jackets have the edge because they signed Laine. But I would not classify 4 years as long term. It's an important term for a team that's had the turnover and turmoil that Columbus has had. But it's not like Laine signed an 8-year deal, which was what was on the table for them. And that was always what we thought was the issue with the Jets, that they couldn't get a 7 or 8 year deal done. Right now, Laine signed a 4-year deal. And as he said himself, it means he doesn't have to answer those stupid questions about his future for the next 3 years for sure. What he also said is that the lack of having that long-term deal was something that was always on his mind. He didn't have to say it out loud, but we know it was a factor when he was in Winnipeg, and we know it was a factor when he was in Columbus. So Pierre-Luc Dubois is not signed long-term. That's an issue when it comes to the trade. Pierre-Luc Dubois has also been a point-a-game player this year, so his value is on the rise. Rope Hintz signed a deal this week. That will be an interesting watermark for a number of top centermen. Whether
in the 8s, right?
In the 8s, 8.45, I believe.
Yeah.
That's in a tax-free state. We should remember. It's important. It could be something that is considered for Bo Horvat, for Dylan Larkin, for Pierre-Luc Dubois, for other pending RFAs. So we can't judge because we don't know the future of Pierre-Luc Dubois. Once we know the future of Pierre-Luc Dubois, then we're going to be able to weigh in on whether the trade was won by one team, won by the other team, or was a trade that benefited both parties. Because right now, to me, the Jets were looking for a 1-2 punch down the middle. They have that. But how long will they have that? That's the biggest issue for me. Patrick Laine, when he's healthy, is a high-end player, Sean. We both know that. We love dealing with him. He looked great today. But it was his 4th goal of the season. Pierre-Luc Dubois got 11 goals. That's not Patrick's fault that he was hurt. He's had some bad luck. But one of the big pieces in this discussion is availability. And right now, Pierre-Luc Dubois, since his early injury, he's been very durable for the Winnipeg Jets. Laine has had a lot of injuries. We both hope he stays healthy. We hope all players stay healthy. So right now, both teams are getting what they want when the players are available. And Jack Roslovic, who started off as the most productive of the 3 players in the first couple months after the deal was made, has had a very up and down season. I think today was his first point. I thought Jack looked great today, Sean. That's the player the Jets wanted him to be, and that's the player that Jack needs to be on a much more consistent basis. He was absolutely flying out there today. I even saw him block 2 shots. I can't remember the last time I saw him block 2 shots in a game. I thought he looked inspired and excellent. But if you're looking at his season, that was his 6th assist of the season. And he doesn't have a lot of goals. So I think it's going to be interesting to see which way this goes. And I love that you tossed the late grenade. But I'm not out here going to be trying to make an assumption about how the future turns out for Pierre-Luc Dubois. And, I'm very interested to see how this goes.
You did a real good job handling that. Like, I think that you covered all the bases of kind of where we're at. Now, you say we can't weigh in on it at this stage.
We can weigh in on it. I just don't think that it's an obvious winner.
Oh, yeah. But that's what I mean by at this stage. And I think that you're right. And there's a couple of things here. Like, I think a lot of people take a look at the lack of success that Columbus has had and point at that as being a waste for Patrick Laine. I think by getting Johnny Gaudreau, having Patrick Laine, like you said, Jack Roslovic has shown some things. They've got a lot of young talent there, and they're probably going to finish into a point this year where they end up with a really, really good player. Based on the lottery, I keep hearing there's like 5 players. Never mind Zach Benson, who's here in Winnipeg. If you want to see a phenomenal player who's going to be a great NHLer, go down and check him out with the ice. By the way, we're going to give away tickets in just a little bit here, but that's a player right there that is going to be available probably around 6, 7, 8 or something like that. So there's a ton of high-end talent in the top end of the draft this year. They're going to add that in. Never mind if they ever landed on someone like Connor
Bedard or even Fantilli, right? I mean, those are 2 high.
Or the Russian kid or the Swedish kid. Like these are all guys that everyone thought would have gone first in the draft last year. So those are potential, franchise-altering players. And then what you're looking at with Patrick Laine is where he fits in with that team and what they're capable of doing in the years going forward from now, 2 to 3 years. And they can have that dream because they had him locked down. You are right. If they don't lock down Pierre-Luc Dubois, the Jets will have lost this trade. That will be the definitive final sword swinging unless they've managed to turn Pierre-Luc Dubois into something that you can turn around and say, wow, we moved Patrick Laine and Jack Roslovic and ended up with this. I like it. That'll be pretty hard to do. I still think for years to come, even if they do sign Pierre-Luc Dubois, no, it's a win for the Jets. I don't care who won the trade. It's a win for the Jets if they get him because Patrick Laine was going to be going anyway. But I think Patrick Laine showed you tonight what he is capable of. He was one of the Patrick Laine reminded me tonight that he can do things on the ice that even some of the most skilled players on the Winnipeg Jets can't do, although there's things that Winnipeg Jets most skilled players can do that he can't do, but he is a special talent. I think that his stick, he had a really good defensive stick tonight on a team full of players that had really good defensive sticks. I don't know if that says more about the passes that the Jets were making or about the structure that they were using, but I think he's come a long way defensively. I know in the chat room it keeps being shared that he's minus 80. This is a struggling team right now. The fact that they locked him down, though, I think at this stage still gives the edge in this trade to the Columbus Blue Jackets. One of the reasons I'll say that is we're sitting here. Yes, exactly. One of the reasons. Phyllis says Helly is the most important upcoming contract renewal that we need. I'll say this about Patrick Laine. He went and was like on pace to be. I don't know how it ended up, but Patrick Laine was showing he could be a point per game player last season without a player like Johnny Gaudreau, without kind of like that true surrounding cast. And what we're sitting talking about on this show right now is Pierre-Luc Dubois not having and his line not going to the degree we think it should be because they don't have that fit on the third line. Well, Pierre-Luc Dubois has come to a team that has an embarrassment of riches of top talent. Being able to play alongside Kyle Connor has put him in a really great spot. Patrick Laine hasn't had that same benefit until now with Johnny Gaudreau, and we saw tonight, to your point, what he's capable of with that. I have to say, just the fact that he is locked down at this stage, the Columbus Blue Jackets are winning the trade because they've got a guy who committed to their market and now has a young up-and-coming team that's going to show them where they go. If your argument to me is that right now the Jets are in a better spot and they're winning because of that with Pierre-Luc Dubois, then the Jets need to do something with it. And of course, what that means, everyone knows without a doubt, is they need to go big fishing at the trade deadline and not now. Time to shut her down. Before we do, Ken, you've got tickets to give away?
Yeah, the Winnipeg Ice beat the Swift Current Broncos beat the Ice 4-3 tonight. They're back in action on Saturday night against the Prince Albert Raiders. We have 2 pairs of tickets for that Ice game tomorrow night. If you send me a DM this evening, I'll let you know if you got the tickets, and we'll go from there.
Excellent stuff. Anything you want to say? I know I tried to sneak one past you there towards the end.
Oh no, hey, we always like to fire the headshots late in the scrimmage. So
good stuff.
Fun moment with Patrick today. We had some good laughs about the hairstyles and good on him.
Yeah, good
on him for having fun with it.
Yeah, that's one of the things we miss most about Patrick Laine. A ton of fun to touch on. And if people aren't sure what we're talking about here, he had the shaved head. And when asked why he went with the new do, he said, it's because my main man, Kenny, here has always looked so good. That's his inspiration. That is his muse. And a better muse, I couldn't think of him following Ken. Great job here tonight. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. I've said it once. I'll say it every single show. If you appreciate the conversations happening in these spaces, please appreciate the sponsors and the advertisers who keep it going in this space for us. That's Vittorio Rossi, TransCanada Brewing Company, Johnston Group, Lou Ferlin, Homefield, and Cambrian Credit Union. And finally, once again, you were all over it tonight, chat room. I'm always kind of keeping an eye. I'm trying to keep score. Who agrees with you more? Who agrees with me more? I'm watching the chat room, so I can't do it. I'm just going to estimate that I won tonight. It's all I can do here, Ken. Thank you, chat room, for giving me the victory.
Needed a new washer this year. Thanks to our guy Ron Ramirez for the great work on the sales force there.
Attaboy, Ronnie. Thank you, chat room. We can't wait to do this again. Jets came into this game as the 30th place team in the NHL. It gets a little easier as they play the 32nd place team in the NHL in the Anaheim Ducks, a team that was on their way to overtime with the Jets before the Jets scored in the last minute of the game. So it'll be interesting to see if they're similar.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on Sunday.